If you're watching this video, you should have already watched part 1 in this video series. If you haven't, stop now and go watch it first. I'll put a link to that video in the description box below. In the previous video, part 1, I covered the left-right component of how to hit these overheads and control how far left or how far right those overhead shots go. In today's video, I'm going to cover part 2, which is the depth component. How shallow or how deep does my overhead land? And how do I control that? Before I can talk about this depth component and controlling how shallow or how deep that ball goes, I need to talk about the mechanics of hitting an overhead well, because that's really going to influence how we can control how short or how deep we hit that ball. Again, we're talking about high balls where we have time to use good mechanics. In general, they should look like this. I'm in my ready position. My opponent throws up this high ball. What I want to do is drop the paddle side of my body back, put my hand up on this 45-degree angle and get my paddle back and prepared. I'll turn and give you the side view. I'm in my ready position. My opponent hits this high ball. I'm going to drop this paddle side of my body back. While I do that, my hand reaches forward. My arm's on this 45-degree angle. My paddle's back behind my head with my arm bent. From this ready position, I'm going to pull this shoulder back and start this shoulder coming forward. So rotating my shoulders, throwing more body mass into the shot. So my shoulder's going to come forward, my hip comes forward, my right heel comes up and off the ground. So as this ball comes in, I'm rolling forward, bringing my shoulder forward, and then I'm going to hit this ball. As my arm comes forward, it's bent here. As my arm comes forward, I'm swinging hard enough that centrifugal force straightens my arm out. So by the time my paddle hits that ball, I'm reaching as high as I can reach. Think of yourself as Shaquille O'Neal. The higher you can reach and hit that ball, the better it is. The net is more out of the way. So we want to reach as high as we can. We want this arm fully extended by the time that we're hitting this ball. So no bent elbow. I want to reach as high as I can and hit that ball as hard as I can. A couple of things you do not want to do. First one is bend this arm and hit this ball at a lower point. So as I'm here and I'm swinging forward and I'm letting this ball get lower, I don't want to do that. I just gave away my advantage. The net is more in the way. I want to hit this ball as high as I can. As you're swinging, let that centrifugal force of your paddle and the weight of your arm pull your arm straight, and don't have this bent and hit this ball lower than you could otherwise hit it. Second thing you do not want to do, which is lead with the wrist. So as I'm here and I'm bringing my paddle forward, don't have this wrist out in front when you're contacting that ball. The sweet spot of that paddle should be out in front when you're contacting the ball. Our brain sometimes wants to tell us, if I do this, I'm going to keep the ball from going too far or going out of bounds. You just got rid of your advantage. You just got rid of most of your power. As you're swinging, keep this paddle sweet spot out in front. Don't be hitting like this. Real time then, the swing would kind of look like this. I'm in ready position, drop this back, and I'm swinging forward. Get back in ready position, drop this side back, and I'm swinging forward. So we're just going to practice this. You can practice this in your house without a ball machine, just to work on your form. Get used to reaching as high as you can, rotating this side of the body into the shot, and thinking, this point's over. I'm either going to mess this shot up so badly it goes in the net or it goes wide, or we're going to hit this ball so well it's not coming back. Have that mentality when you're hitting these overheads. This point is over if I can do this well. One major key here, the thing that really matters maybe the most, or if not the most, at least tied for first place, is this 45-degree angle on this arm. So as I'm getting in this ready position, this arm is straight. There's no bend in it, and it's up on this 45-degree angle with my fingers opened, and that angle matters. Here's why. There are a lot of parallels between tennis and pickleball. This is one place where they vary. If you watch a tennis player get ready, get prepped to hit an overhead, they're pointing at the ball. So they've got one finger up and they're pointing at the ball, and usually that arm is straight up, primarily because their racket is longer. So this ball is, by definition, further away from their body when they hit it, and they have to point at it because they can't actually reach it. For pickleball, our paddles are shorter than those tennis rackets, so that doesn't work as well. That's why this 45-degree angle is important, because I am trying to get my paddle on that ball well. I want that ball in the sweet spot of my paddle, so you can see if my arm is up on this 45-degree angle and I were to swing forward, then that ball hits the sweet spot of my paddle right there. So if you envision this and there, my paddle ends up right where the palm of my hand used to be, and that's why I'm reaching forward on this angle and I'm not reaching here. Tennis and pickleball agree on one thing on overheads, and that is to move. So if you watch a tennis player, they'll get in this ready position pointing at the ball, and then they're moving, and then once they figure out they're in the right position, according to where their finger's pointing at the ball's coming to them, they will stop. We need to do the same thing. The difference is I'm on this 45-degree angle, got my paddle back, and now I need to move so that that ball would hit the palm of my hand. And once I figure out that that ball is going to hit the palm of my hand, I stop, my body's in the right position, and then I go through the normal swing, and that ball's relatively in the same position to my body as every other overhead. Well, that's what I want it to be anyway. If you've played softball or baseball, you're familiar with the concept of looking the ball into the glove. That's what you should be thinking about as you're getting prepped to hit these overheads in pickleball, is having this up on the 45 and looking this ball into your glove, or in this case, into the palm of our hand, which is why I say don't point. That doesn't really make sense to my brain because I can't catch the ball that way. If I'm like this with my fingers spread apart, I can look that ball into the palm of my hand and I can visualize what we did in the softball, which is looking that ball into the palm of your hand or into your glove. And then just before that ball gets there, we're rotating forward and hitting that ball. Tennis players point because they can't reach the ball. It needs to be further away because their racket is longer. Pickleball players, in my opinion, need to envision catching the ball, not pointing at it, keeping those fingers spread, and trying to look that ball into the palm of their hand. You need this left hand up here giving me a reference point about where I need that ball to be when I hit it. Without my left hand up there, one, it's a little bit harder to rotate into the shot and get power on it, but I don't have that reference point. And so what I can do is end up being too early, that ball goes in the net, or I get there too late and that ball goes out long.